So let's do this update on the Stonefruit. This, as we know, is my spicy nectar plum. Got some good sized nectar plums on here so far. It's probably gonna be my first Stonefruit that's gonna be ripe. I believe it's sometime in early July, late June. I had to check up on that one. Look at that one. Looks like a fig the way it's cracking on the outside. Very interesting tree. And go around this side. This is the Stonefruit update. I'm gonna update all the Stonefruits that actually have fruit on them. I'm gonna ignore the ones that just didn't fruit this year. This one, I mean, it has the least amount of fruit on them that has fruit, but it's kind of held on to everything from like 2 months ago when it dropped a whole bunch of them. It's held on to all the ones that it did keep, which is also an interesting thing. I might have to move this one because that one had failed. That one aborted, just still holding on. But the best thing about this thing is I have not, knock on wood, I have not had any problems with disease on this thing. You can see there's a little bit, and I don't know if that's Z or something eating on it, but compared to my other trees, it just doesn't have the same amount, and I'm gonna show y'all them in a second. So that's the spicy nectar plum. We can move on past these apricots. These other hybrids, they didn't put anything on this year, so we're not gonna worry about them in this particular video. Leocott, that's one thing I need to actually do some grafting. I'm gonna graft more of my apricots on my big tree, just because of it, the Fantasia Nectarine just doesn't seem to do as well as some of these other trees I got out here. Between disease pressure and pest pressure, I gotta graft something on it. Look at that. Look at the base on that. Like, it can support fruit. So I need to use it and not just be stingy. I grafted a plum cot on it. This should be a plum cot. I grafted a couple apricots, but they failed. So I just got to try it again. So here's something else that has fruit on it. The Contender Peach is weighed down. I need to do something about this. Let me just pick this little dead fruit off real quick in action. But look at this. The rest of these trees have dropped a whole bunch of fruit. The spicy nectar plum didn't really drop any after its initial drop. These held on to fruits for a long time. As you can see, they're getting big. I've got some on cover, some of them not. Between the disease, you can see right there, the pest, which is not that bad on the Contender compared to the Nectarine. Like the pests go crazy on the Nectarine. They love the Nectarine, probably because of it doesn't have any fuzz on it. So they just, every Nectarine that's not covered just gets crushed by whatever, what is it, plum curculio, I don't know, by something. And then also the wind. So we had a couple windy days, 2 straight windy days yesterday, and that knocked off a whole bunch of them. There was a whole bunch of bags laying on the ground. So no need to self-thin here, because between the wind, the pest, and disease, it'll self-thin itself. But this is Contender Peach. Still got a bunch of peaches still on here. Good sized peaches. This one fell off. See there? This one just aborted. So good sized peaches that aborted a little later than I would expect them to abort, but it is what it is. It's still plenty still on there. I'm pretty sure we'll get at least 1 or 2 this year, hoping for more. I mean, look, it's still a lot of bags on there. A lot of, look at that big boy up there. I don't know if you can see him. Big boy all the way up at the top by himself. He should be good. Now let's actually move on to the Fantasia Nectarine. Still a bunch of nectarines on here. Thick base, perfect for grafting if I want some more fruit on here. And you see a whole bunch just fell off up there, and they're still holding, the bag still holding on, so I need to just pull the bag off. Like this one right here. This one is a mummified fruit holding on. But this one, you can see stuff trying to get in those bags. It might have even got in there. But the bags aren't foolproof, I'll say that. It's just better than nothing. Look at that one. That one fell off. And there's still plenty of fruit on here. You see that one right there uncovered. And it got juice all over it from Pest pecking into it and getting into it. So yeah, if I had to go back, I would say I would only get a peach instead. I wouldn't buy a nectarine tree. It's like I really wish my biggest tree, which is this one, my most mature tree, the thickest base tree, would have been a peach instead of a nectarine, because they just don't have as many problems. So last week, I'm gonna mark this down, in May, first week of May was when disease pressure was crazy high. Like almost all these lower limbs, it didn't look like this. It was just, all of it kind of looked like this and was falling off. That's why you see all these leaves right here. But I mean, it happens every year. I've tried to spray for it every year. It just doesn't work. So the best thing that I found to do is just fertilize the tree so that it can reinvigorate itself after it goes through all that. So it can come back quick instead of slow without fertilizing it. So that's what I did. I'm definitely not an expert at this. I just do what I can. Look at all these falling off, mummified. It's just rough. Nectarines are rough, man. Let's move on. Oh, the one tree that I'm probably gonna cut down at the end of this year. This is a peach that was $6 at one of the big box stores. Look, it has no disease on it. That's telling right there. It has no disease on it. And all these other peach trees got at least some kind of disease on it. This was supposed to be a Sunglow Nectarine, but this is the 4th year I've had this tree, and it's never put out any fruit. It just gave me flowers, and of course nectarine flowers look like peach flowers. So I was like, okay, it's still a Sunglow Nectarine. This year it actually came out with fruit, and that's definitely not a nectarine tree, not a nectarine fruit. Look at the fuzz on it. So that's where we're at on this one. 4-year-old tree, 3 years in ground, one peach, compared to the Contender, a whole bunch of peaches in the same amount of time in ground. I do like the disease resistant, but it's just not producing. So it's either gonna get grafted on or I'm pulling it up. It's gonna serve the same fate as the Bruce Plum right here that I cut off, because it's just taking up space. All right, no, this is not the last tree. This is the Belle of Georgia. I lost a whole bunch in the wind. It had some disease, but not as bad as the Contender, or definitely not as bad as the Nectarine had. But it still has a whole bunch of fruit on it. It dropped a whole bunch, but still a whole bunch, still all caught up in the middle. So the Belle of Georgia has been doing well for me, I would say. We're gonna see which one of these trees actually give us the most legit fruit on them by the end of the year, and decide what we want to do with that information. We may make that the prime suspect of taking grafts and putting it on this big old nectarine tree, because that particular limb is going to be it should be pretty productive. So let's move on. Last 2 trees that actually have fruit on them. Here's my Red Haven peach. This is it's as old as those Contender peaches, but it just does not produce like them. You see that big old boy right there. 2 big boys right there. That's 3. Then a little boy right here. That's all this little peach tree put out. It went through, look how many little peach leaves everywhere around here. It went through the leaf drop from disease. Sprayed it. I don't know what to do anymore. It's just something that's gonna happen every year. It's just gonna drop leaves and drop fruit because of disease. I'm gonna keep spraying it now, but I'm just not gonna get my hopes up that it's gonna keep all its leaves all the time. I just have problems with that. So here we go. Contender, the second Contender peach. This is a funny looking tree. It had the disease. I don't know if it's had the worst bout of disease, This one, last year, I grew a watermelon right there. It ran up the tree and started pulling the tree down. And that's why it's shaped like this to the left. That's why it's got this little curve on it, because it was being held down for like 3 months last year by a watermelon plant that was actually growing watermelons on this tree. Funny looking. But look at the peaches on it. Look at the peaches that are still on it, which is cool. Look at the middle of the tree though. This is hilarious. Now I'm hoping that this thing thins itself. I mean, it's been doing that. Like, this can go, because this is not gonna make it. But there's a lot of healthy ones in here. This one's not gonna make it. Look at this smorgasbord right here. Very crazy amount of fruit on this tree. I need to go pluck that one off. Oh, there was a lot on this part. It dropped a whole bunch on this one and kept this one, which also a bug. Yeah, this one is gonna drop because this one has brown rot. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that one off. Pull this one off. I'm gonna have to cover some other ones up. We're gonna take this one off. So basically, the ones, if this is one of the healthy, and the one on the other side was dead, so I'm just gonna pull the one on the other side off. Gonna provide more energy to that. So I just think it just overproduced, really. Overproduced, had disease, dropped a whole bunch. And now we're in a state where just hoping the disease doesn't like reoccur, hoping that this thing stays healthy. Look at this one, big one on this side and dead one on this side. We're just gonna hope this thing stays healthy and can hold on to some of this doggone fruit that's piled everywhere on this tree. Just a little bit of tree. Let's pull this one off. That's one bad thing about the little covers, the little bags, is when they drop, sometimes the bag just stays on. What about that one? Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to spray this again. I might spray all these again right now with some copper, just to help it out a little bit. But yeah, that's what we got right now. Still a bunch of peaches on the tree, but I mean, the first week of May was like a reckoning as far as drop. We dropped a whole bunch. If you just look around the bottom, you'll see little peaches everywhere. Dropped all over here if you look closely. Not the end of the world though. There goes my neighbor's big old peach tree. You can see it really don't have any disease on it. None of his peach trees have any disease on it. He don't spray his at all, so I don't know. Maybe next year I tried that my first year. I tried not spraying and disease was terrible on all my stuff. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. We're gonna figure it out though.